there is a number that will make most people in the West stop and blink twice. Stick with this video, because by the end you will know the real reason why one group of people saves almost 10 times more than another, and how you can steal their playbook without changing your whole life. Here is the number. In recent years, the household savings rate in China has sat somewhere around 45%. That means for every $100 earned, about $45 gets tucked away instead of spent. Now look at a country like the United States. The average savings rate there usually sits between 3 and 5%. Do the math, and that is close to a 10 times gap. Same planet, same paychecks in some cases. Totally different outcome. So what is going on here? Is it just luck? Higher salaries? Cheaper rent? Turns out no. The real answer has almost nothing to do with income and almost everything to do with mindset, culture, and a few very specific habits that get passed down like family recipes. Let's start with culture, because this is where the story really begins. In a lot of Western countries, people grow up surrounded by ads. 50% off. Buy now, pay later. No interest for 12 months. Every screen, every billboard, every storefront is quietly nudging people to spend a little more than they planned. There is also a social pressure that creeps in. The feeling that a nicer car or a bigger house means a person has made it. A lot of this traces back to the years right after World War II. Governments were trying to rebuild broken economies, and spending money was treated almost like a patriotic duty. Buying things kept factories running and kept the economy moving. That message never really left. It just got quieter and more polished over the decades. In many Chinese households, the message ran the opposite direction. Saving was treated as something to be proud of, not something boring or old-fashioned. Debt was something to avoid, not a normal part of adult life. Paying for something with cash in full was, and still is, seen as the responsible way to do things, while paying in installments is often viewed with real discomfort. Think about how many financial decisions get shaped by that background noise without anyone even noticing. A person walks past a storefront, sees a sign screaming final sale, and suddenly a purchase that was never planned feels urgent. Multiply that by 1,000 small moments across a lifetime, and it is easy to see how spending habits get baked in before anyone consciously chooses them. That is the surface level answer. But if that was the whole story, this video would be 5 minutes long. There is something deeper going on, and understanding it is what actually makes the savings habit stick. Now, if all you want are the actual money saving steps, there is a timestamp below, and you can jump straight there. But give me 2 more minutes first, because once you understand why this habit exists, the how becomes 10 times easier to actually follow. Most people fail at saving money not because they lack a system, but because they never built the mindset underneath it. So let's build that first. Reason 1. Money carries meaning. In many Chinese families, saving money is taught early, almost like a value passed down at the dinner table. During holidays and birthdays, children often receive money in red envelopes, and parents will usually encourage the child to save it rather than spend it right away. This money even has its own name, often translated as lucky money. Money is treated with so much respect that even the New Year greeting reflects it. Instead of simply saying Happy New Year, the traditional greeting roughly translates to wishing you wealth and prosperity. Think about that for a second. An entire culture's biggest holiday greeting is built around the wish for more money, not just happiness. That tells you everything about how central financial security is to the culture. There is also a strong social respect tied to financial success. Being financially secure is often viewed as a marker of a well-run life, so being seen as financially responsible carries real social weight. This is very different from cultures where talking about money openly feels awkward or even rude. In many Western households, asking someone how much they make or how much they saved last year is treated almost like a taboo question. In households built around this savings culture, the opposite is often true. Money gets discussed at the dinner table, savings goals get mentioned out loud, and kids grow up hearing real numbers instead of vague hints. That kind of open conversation builds financial awareness early, long before a person ever earns their first paycheck. Reason 2, a numbers problem nobody talks about for decades. One country policy limited most families to a single child, largely to slow down rapid population growth. Families who had more than one child faced heavy fines, and in some cases the additional child could not be properly registered, which blocked access to basic services like healthcare and schooling. this policy had a side effect that most people never think about. Because having a son was traditionally seen as more valuable for carrying on the family name and property, many families made choices that skewed the ratio of boys to girls. Over time, this created a real imbalance, with noticeably more men than women in the population. When there are more men than women, competition changes. To stand out, many men felt pressure to appear financially stable and successful. Saving money and building financial security became part of that competition. At the same time, having only one child meant many families spent less overall, since they were not splitting resources across multiple kids. Less spending on raising children, plus more pressure to build financial stability, created a strong, almost automatic push towards saving. Reason 3. No safety net, no excuses. Unlike countries with widespread employer retirement plans or strong pension systems, many people growing up in this environment did not have that same safety net to lean on. There are government pension programs, but a lot of people worry about whether those systems will hold up by the time they retire. That uncertainty pushes people to build their own cushion. Healthcare costs, education costs, and retirement all become things a person has to plan for personally, rather than assuming a system will cover the gap. When nobody is coming to save you financially, saving stops being optional. It becomes survival. There is also the reality of caring for aging parents. In many households, adult children are expected to help support their parents financially once they retire, rather than relying entirely on government programs. That expectation adds another layer of pressure to build savings early, since the responsibility is not just about one person's future, it is about an entire family's future. Those 3 reasons, the meaning tied to money, the demographic pressure, and the lack of a guaranteed safety net, are the real engine behind the habit. Now let's get into the actual method. Here is the part everyone actually came for. The core money management method that shows up again and again in frugal households is not complicated. It is often called zero-based budgeting. The idea is simple. Every single dollar of income gets a job before the month even starts. Rent, groceries, bills, all of that gets planned out. But so does savings, investing, debt payments, and future goals. By the time the plan is done, income minus every planned expense equals 0. Not because there is nothing left, but because every leftover dollar already has a purpose, usually pointed straight at savings or investing. Picture someone earning $4,000 a month. Rent, groceries, and basic bills get listed first. Then a chunk goes to an emergency fund. Another chunk goes to retirement savings. Another goes toward paying down a loan. Maybe there is a category for a future car or a big purchase down the line. Add it all up, and the leftover number at the bottom is 0, because every dollar already has an assignment. This system does not tell a person exactly how much to spend in each category. What it does is force total honesty about where the money goes. A lot of people who try this for the first time need to track their spending for 2 or 3 months just to get an accurate picture of their variable costs before the plan really works well. That is the framework. Simple, unglamorous, and shockingly effective when someone actually sticks with it. The hardest part is not the math. The hardest part is being honest about the numbers. It is easy to guess low on things like takeout, entertainment, or random small purchases. Most people who actually track their spending for a few weeks are surprised, sometimes even shocked, at where their money really goes. That moment of honesty is usually the real turning point, far more than any spreadsheet or app. Quick favor before moving on. If this is helping so far, tap that like button. It genuinely helps this video reach more people who need to hear it. And if money topics like this interest you, there is a free newsletter linked below that breaks down finance and business news twice a week. Totally free, link is in the description. Beyond the budgeting system, there are 4 specific habits that show up over and over in frugal households. These are not secrets exactly, but almost nobody actually applies all 4 at once. Habit 1. Skip the status symbols. Many frugal households actively avoid luxury purchases made purely to show off wealth. There is a strong cultural preference for staying modest and low-key rather than flashing money around. The logic is simple. Money spent trying to look successful is money that cannot grow into actual success. It is worth pointing out this is not about judging anyone who enjoys nice things. It is about sequencing, building real financial security first, then treating luxury as a reward rather than a requirement, tends to lead to a much stronger long-term outcome than trying to look wealthy before the wealth is actually there. Habit 2. Live below what you earn on purpose. There is a well-known story about a small business owner who grew up with very little. As a young adult starting his first job, once he began earning a steady paycheck, he tried to live off a tiny fraction of it, treating the rest as untouchable. He did not always succeed perfectly. Some months he needed most of the paycheck just to get by, but the mindset stuck with him for life. Save first, spend what is left, not the other way around. This kind of habit can create a scarcity mindset if it goes too far, so it is worth balancing over time. But the core lesson, prioritizing saving before spending, is one of the most repeated pieces of advice in frugal households everywhere. Habit 3. Know the difference between a need and a want. This one sounds obvious, but almost nobody actually applies it. If something is genuinely needed, especially something tied to health, it is worth spending on. An ergonomic chair that keeps your back healthy for years easily beats a cheap chair that causes pain, even if it costs more upfront. But this logic has limits. Everyone needs clothing. That does not mean every piece of clothing needs to be a luxury brand. The goal is smart spending, not extreme cutting. For actual wants, the trick is thinking in terms of value per use. A $350 bag might feel expensive in the moment, but if it lasts 5 years, that works out to less than 20 cents a day. Spending is not the enemy here. Wasted spending is. This same math works for almost anything. A pair of shoes, a coat, even a piece of furniture. Divide the price by how long it will realistically last, and suddenly the expensive option often turns out cheaper per day than something flimsy that needs replacing every few months. Cheap is not always cheap once you do the math over time. Habit 4. Eat at home, save the rest. This last one might be the simplest and most universal. Eating out regularly adds up fast, often costing far more than a home-cooked meal for the same nutrition. In many frugal households, eating out is saved for special occasions, and having people over for a home-cooked meal becomes the default way to socialize instead. None of these 4 habits are flashy. None require a special app, a high income, or complicated math. They are just consistent choices, repeated often enough that they eventually become automatic. What makes these 4 habits powerful is not any single one on its own. It is the combination. Skip the status spending, save before spending the rest, separate needs from wants, and cook more at home, and suddenly a person is saving real money every single month without feeling like they are constantly restricting themselves. That is the actual difference between a diet that fails after 2 weeks and a habit that lasts a lifetime. So there it is. The real secret is not some hidden trick or magic formula. It is a mix of mindset, a simple budgeting system, and 4 small habits practiced consistently over time. If you try even one of these this month, you are already ahead of where you started. Let me know in the comments which habit you are going to try first. And remember, as the saying goes around the new year in Chinese households, wishing you wealth and prosperity. Go check out that free newsletter linked below if you want more of this kind of content. See you in the next video.